1, 2, 3. Happy Golden
Happy
Rule Day.
Golden Rule Day
from the Charter for Compassion.
Les damos la bienvenida a Monterrey, Nuevo León, México,
en esta celebración del Día Internacional de la Regla de Oro. Me va a dar mucho gusto desde el Encuentro Mundial de Valores, nuestra organización, y con el apoyo también de Charter for Compassion, presentar a ustedes algunos de los programas y los proyectos que con mucha emoción y desde el corazón hemos venido trabajando en el último tiempo.
This is Golden Rule Day, and we remember that in every single one of the major world religions, the core of religiosity, the test of true spirituality, is always to treat all others as we would wish to be treated ourselves. We have to look into our own hearts, discover what gives us pain, and then refuse under any circumstance whatsoever to inflict that pain on anybody else. As Confucius said, it has to be done all day and every day, not just when we feel like it. Sometimes in England we have a habit of saying when we've done something nice for somebody, well, that's my good deed for the day, as though we could return for the next 23 hours to our usual life of unkindness and bitterness and selfishness, but all day and every day to dethrone ourselves from the center of our world and put another there. And basically the world needs compassion. We're living in a very polarized world which is full of hatred and suspicion and violence. And unless now we learn to implement the Golden Rule globally so that we treat all nations, all peoples, as we would wish to be treated ourselves, we're not going to have a viable world. And that's why it was so important when Ambassador Musi Hailo made this Golden Rule Day to remind us of this fact, to remind us of the centrality and importance of what the Charter for Compassion is trying to do, which is to raise awareness and bring compassion back to the center of moral, spiritual, private and public life, so that we can build a global community where all peoples are treated with respect.
We are in Central Park asking people what they think the Golden Rule is and why it's important.
The Golden Rule?
Yes.
The Golden Rule, wow. The Golden Rule, what is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
The Golden Rule. I've never heard of that. I don't know.
The Golden Rule.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I don't know it.
I have not heard of the Golden Rule.
You've never heard of the Golden Rule?
I don't remember what it is.
The Golden Rule?
Yes.
Of anything? That's very deep and profound, isn't it?
It's do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Bingo.
Okay, I believe it's the ability to coexist with others by treating the way that we want it to be treated.
The Golden Rule is treat others as you would like to be treated as yourself, correct?
Golden Rule, it's a rule that was actually made by Confucius. And the main issues of the Confucianism is that you should respect the elderly people and actually respect everyone.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
I believe, what is it, Hillel said?
Yes.
Said that, when asked to explain the Torah while standing on one leg, said, the Torah says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The rest is commentary. Go learn it.
The Golden Rule, when I was taught in elementary, a simple answer would be treat people the way you treat yourself.
Oh man, that's it. In a divided world full of conflict and mistrust, a grassroots movement has emerged to remind every person on the planet that we share one thing in common, the Golden Rule. Treat others and the planet as you would like to be treated. These words are found in sacred texts of most organized religions throughout history. In 2007, URI Africa and Interfaith Peacebuilding Initiative declared April 5th as Golden Rule Day in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and called upon all citizens of the world to join them in proclaiming the day and living every day according to the teaching of the Golden Rule in order to make our world better and more peaceful for all. Since then, about 700 organizations in 165 countries have joined in proclaiming Golden Rule Day each year. The first 24-hour global webinar celebrating the Golden Rule took place April 5th, 2018. It was organized by 4 international NGOs: the Golden Rule Project, United Religions Initiative, Charter for Compassion, and the Grandmothers Global Healing Movement. More than 30 organizations across the world served as participating partners, organizing events and providing video content for the webcast, which was transmitted live on the goldenruleday.org website and Facebook Live. The international webcast began with world peace prayers offered for 193 countries by the Goi Peace Foundation in Japan, an interview with Australia megastar Lior, and the playing of the Compassion Symphony. A discussion on kindness led by Indian pop singer Nimo Patel.
Thinking what's the reason why we holding back from being kind? What's the disease? But then I sense we are fine. It'll all happen. One small step at a time.
And music and messages from reggae superstar Peto Banton.
One God, one aim, one destiny, which means that we're all God's children's brothers and sisters.
In South Africa, college students of different races shared stories of how problems with race remain, but with hard work, society will change. In Monterrey, Mexico, the Charter for Compassion chapter shared how they encourage government, business, schools, media, and families to build a more just and sensitive society to human suffering by tirelessly seeking true peace.
Impulso a trabajar incansablemente para aliviar el sufrimiento de nuestros semejantes.
Para destronarnos a nosotros mismos del centro de nuestro mundo y poner a otro ahí.
In the United Kingdom, an interview focused on the importance of the Golden Rule to care for the earth. Students from the Middle East, Pakistan, and India shared thoughts on kindness despite differences in religion.
भगवान और अल्लाह में फर्क क्या है?
मेरे ख्याल से वो सारे एक ही है, सिर्फ उनके नाम अलग.
Faith leaders from most of the world's major religions, along with shamans and indigenous spiritual leaders, added their voices to fully demonstrate how the Golden Rule is universal. Ella Gandhi, granddaughter of Mahatma Gandhi, shared, "May this day reverberate throughout the world and cause real ripples of change, which must start with us."
In this day and age, if we practice that a little more freely, things might change.
Hi, I'm Appleton, Wisconsin Mayor Jake Woodford, and I'm here to tell you about the Golden Rule Day. Golden Rule Day is April 5th internationally, and it's also Golden Rule Day in the city of Appleton. Now, lately we've had plenty of examples of times when people haven't been following the Golden Rule, whether it's been hate directed at members of our community of Asian descent, or it's political vitriol on the internet. And as we continue to work our way through a time when our level of connectedness to one another has been more strained than it's ever been, it's important to remember the power of the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule, of course, being to treat others the way you'd like to be treated. So on this International Golden Rule Day, I encourage you to do the same, to treat others the way you want to be treated. Thank you.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the Shift Summit and Music Festival. I am your MC today, Faye Love.
I'm an artist, I'm a performance artist, and what I recognize art doing in this situation, it puts everybody on an equal playing field.
I'll give you a little backstory about me. I became very ill and diagnosed with an autoimmune transverse myelitis, which is inflammation of the spine. And it caused me to be paralyzed from the waist below for 6 months. In my hospital bed, my perspective changed, okay? I became a lot more compassionate. And I was witnessing the devastation and turmoil in this world. I'm like, what are these people fighting for? At least they got legs and can walk, you know? And I made a conscious deal. We started making deals with God when you're in the hospital bed. I was like, God, if I can stand and walk out of here, I will stand for something greater and bigger than myself. I will stand for love and compassion. And that's what you see me doing here, standing right now, standing for love and compassion. God started talking to you in the hospital bed, right? So I made my deal. I say compassion is love in action.
There's things about compassionate action. And if you use compassion as a center of your intention and listening with compassionate issues, then we can attain more peace and have peaceful resolutions.
Working on this post has helped my depression and loneliness and build up my confidence. I've never saw myself as a lead artist in this way. This concept is about my thoughts, my train of thoughts. And we have a train, one train that's going off the tracks, as you can see, and there's a person trying to stop it. One day I had this vision that I, along with the youth, because y'all gotta help me on this, can lead the charge to bring all together in solidarity of Black lives.
One of our conversations is with compassionate cops and Black Lives Matter and youth. We got to hear the stories of the cops feeling alone. We also got a chance to hear the youth say, well, why are you targeting me? What have I done? So with this conversation, we came back and forth, and the post was a safe space to put this conversation down. And that is what art does. It creates a safe space to communicate about hard issues.
The youth are our future. We're building a future for our youth for sustainability. We're training artists. We're training facilitators. We're training mentors to continue. Are you ready to vision and partner with us to create a California that works for all? Are you ready? All right then.
Our ground gets shaken up all the time, am I right? We have these earthquakes, our ground gets shaken up, but we still maintain stability and keep pushing forth. And so we had riots in the past, we've had this immigration, issues with DACA, and yet we're telling the world that we love unconditionally, and we don't have to go with the norm. We're different. We see what's right, and we make a way, the right way, a path of righteousness. Fear will call destruction. Fear will cause you to hide. Love, I love my family so much. I love my friends so much. I love myself so much that I had to stand up and do something and spread love back into this world, spread love back into these situations. So I speak to you with love. And I ask you to listen to the other person and understand that they are afraid. Find out what their fears are, because their fears is what's causing these actions and this devastation. Once we can figure that out, then we can move forward and create peace and democracy.
Come on, let's unite and do this. Love you guys. Thank you for your time.
Lately, we only disagree, but there's something you should know about me. I don't cave in easily, no matter what you say to me. And I see things from your side. What's the path I would choose if I walked in your shoes? We come from different places, seen thousands of faces. I wonder what lies behind your eyes, behind your eyes. Maybe we can speak our minds without getting angry, without all the lies. It seems like we don't have the time to sit around in silence or point fingers at the blind. And I will try to see things from your side. What's the path I would choose if I walked in your shoes? We come from different places, seen thousands of faces. I wonder what lies behind your eyes, behind your eyes. Our sight's been blurred by the lines of division. It's the human condition. So will you fight or use your vision? Time to make a decision. Behind your eyes, behind your eyes, behind your eyes, behind your
Happy Golden Rule Day!
I'm Matt from Wales and I work for URI.
My name is Sarah Oliver and I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I work for the United Religions Initiative focusing on youth engagement.
My name is Felipe Zurita. I'm from Chile and I work with the Charter for Compassion.
My name is Samira and I work for United Religions Initiative as the regional coordinator for URI Multi-Region.
My name is Mimi Hicklin. I am from Seattle, Washington, and I work for the Charter for Compassion as the program coordinator.
My name is Tahil Sharma, and I'm the regional coordinator for North America for the United Religions Initiative.
Tell me your favorite version of the Golden Rule.
In Christianity, the Golden Rule runs through all the scriptures as a message of love thy neighbor as thyself. And what really resonates for me about this is this idea that there's no line between our neighbors and ourselves, and that is the beauty of the Golden Rule for me.
I grew up Catholic, and the Golden Rule is really present in a lot of the teachings and texts. There's a sort of update that I think is useful to remember actually, which is some call the Platinum Rule, which is basically to treat others as they want to be treated. What this reminds me is that as I try to live the Golden Rule, other people I'm engaging with are different. They've lived different experiences and in many cases experienced discrimination and oppression. So it's important to listen to people and respect what they tell you they need.
One that I really like is from the indigenous Native American culture, and it goes, avoid hurting the hearts of others. The poison of your pain will return to you.
From Black Elk of the Oglala Lakota people, he said, all things are our relatives. What we do to everything, we do to ourselves. All is really one.
I am a Muslim, and my favorite formulation of the Golden Rule Day is a saying by the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in which he says that we're not true believers until we want for our brothers and sisters what we want for ourselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Anisha and I am a school student of Tagore International School, Delhi, India. Treat others as you would like to be treated, says the Golden Rule. In the month of June last year, seeing the devastating pictures of an Amphan cyclone hit parts of eastern India, I was too much moved. The pandemic was already impacting lives of so many people, and then the Amphan? I had been thinking about what I could do about the situation, and that's when my mother told me about a wonderful initiative called CARE, Creativity and Art for Relief and Empathy. I love painting and donated some of my artwork. All my paintings were bought, and this way I could contribute to the cause. Compassion is contagious. With this action of mine, I could inspire a few other friends to also be part of the cause. I think we should always remember that no act is a small act and every act creates a ripple effect. Thank you.
What is the Golden Rule?
Quelle est la règle d'or?
Treat others how you would like to be treated.
Traite les autres comme tu voudrais être traité.
C'est vrai, that's right. So we think this rolla-bola is a great representation of la règle d'or, or the Golden Rule, because it's all about balance.
La balance!
So how is it all about balance? Because it's all about being kind to others and having others be kind to you, and especially being kind to the earth and having the earth in return be kind to us, but mostly us being kind to the earth. So if all of that is happening, then we are all in balance with each other, and that is why the rolla-bola and balance represents the Golden Rule, or la règle d'or.
C'est vrai!
C'est vrai! Oui, that's correct. Bye!
Au revoir!
Hello everyone, I just want to wish you Happy International Golden Rule Day 2021. I am Xavier Kembe from Cameroon. Thank you. Alright. access.
Hello, my name is Diane Kalin Sukra, speaking to you from British Columbia, Canada. In a divided world filled with conflict and mistrust, a grassroots movement has emerged to remind each and every person on the planet that we share one thing in common, the golden rule: treat others and the planet as you would like to be treated. Over 700 organizations in 165 countries have joined in proclaiming April 5th International Golden Rule Day. Over the past year, COVID has highlighted our interconnectedness and our common humanity, and it's fitting that the theme this year is that the Golden Rule connects all of us. Consider, what does the Golden Rule mean to you? What compassionate action can you take today and every day to reduce the suffering of others, to care for our planet, and to make your community a sustainable place for human flourishing? The Dalai Lama has called for a values revolution that integrates compassion and ethics in teaching youth to prepare themselves for our rapidly changing world. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has adopted a learning framework that includes teaching empathy, self-efficacy, motivation, trust, respect for diversity, and human life. The stated reason for this is that technology and advancements will lead to only further disparity and strife without their application through a more sustainable, values-based culture. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 16 is motivated by the belief that compassion and a strong moral compass are essential to every democratic society. Yet persecution, injustice, and abuse run rampant and tear at the fabric of our communities. A compassionate world is a peaceful world, and only a compassionate world is truly sustainable and resilient. International Golden Rule Day member Charter for Compassion engages communities, individuals in compassionate action worldwide. Over 2 million individuals in almost 500 cities have signed on to their mission to summon creative, political, and sustained action to meet the moral, religious, political, social, and cultural problems of our day.
I always wanted a red cape on my back. I always wanted to be the best in my pack. I always wanted to be known to be good, to be the hero of my own hood. If I could just fly, I could save everyone. Stop all the wars so nobody's gotta run. All the killing, all the crimes, pain and suffering. It's getting tougher to be buffered from it all. Are we gonna make it through? Is he gonna fly back in? Cause if he don't come right now, I don't think good will win. Time is running now. Do we wanna wait for him? Or is it our time now to bring the good back in? We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you right here, right now. Superhero, na 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 na. The superhero. Pain, and though I can't fly, I can do the mask, we can touch the clouds. Yep. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single file. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you right here, right now. Superhero, na 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 na. We're superheroes. Things that make a difference, and all the power's locked within us. All we gotta do is find the key and turn the latch and set it free. Yeah, we don't need to be fast and strong, cause a kind word can go a long way. Help someone whose faith is gone to get back up and carry on. Maybe it's too hard to understand, think it's too much for us to handle, but I promise you that you can, cause you don't need to be a Superman. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single file. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you right here, right now. Every superhero feeding the soul when there's nobody around it. So superhero and the vibe of the spirit that can change a town. Superhero, everybody's throwing out the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can catch the cloud. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yep.
Sa langit yan tawag pailingan. Ang pingantaw su mga sulod daw, mga panaglugong hangaan sa kagsabuayan nagdaog. Malagod maumako kuyan sa gugmaghariw kahinawatan. Amay day magabaya, tiini kay iman ng mga bata no. Tagpangananay kay taimo, pinaagi hugamhanan hangadan no. Ha ilahan kay imo, humayad ha panghana-hana. Hulini kay imo, hualan habuluhaton. Dini aiman, dini ha grupo, ha makabulig hai hukanay ha tribo. Na ikahid o kay imo, nasualan inampo ko daon pangananay ko humigbaya amon siya dini takalibutan hayan suamay magbabaya. Amin.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.
وقال ربكم ادعوني استجب لكم آمين يا رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. For you, Allah, have been the life giver to us. In your unending goodness, strengthen the determination of our traditional and religious leaders of our particular localities and faith communities to protect the dignity of the poor and the vulnerable in accord to your mercy as you are the most merciful. For you, Allah, have been an equal benefactor to us. Kindly provide unto us, your faithful people and servants, the necessary courage to position our trust and cooperation to our communities, traditional, religious, and political leaders in planting the seeds of peace in Lanao and in the entire territory of the wonderful beloved homeland Mindanao. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Lord God Almighty, the most compassionate, plenteous of mercy, praise be to God, Lord of creation, the compassionate one, the merciful one, King of Judgment Day. To you alone we submit ourselves. To you alone we entrust ourselves. We, the Muslims, the Lumads, and the Christians, your faithful people in 2 provinces of Lanao, we humbly plead and pray for your divine guidance and assistance. We ask God for the grace to be our best selves, to unceasingly work for peace, in unity despite of our different religious backgrounds and diversity. We ask for the vision and enlightenment as a people coming from various religious traditions, and make us become instrument of peace in the pursuit of genuine brotherhood and sisterhood in humanity. For you, O God, had been so gracious to us. Fill each heart of our local political leaders and guide them to the right path, so that as elected by their people into public offices, they will become and they will continue to stand firm as civil servants in bringing an end to war and violence, and that they promote peace and development in our beloved homeland. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen and amen.
Ang pingantaw sa mga sulod daw, mga panaglogong hangaay sa kagnabuag daw, malagon maumako kuyan sa gugma agharyo kahinawat daw, malagon maumako kuyan sa gugma agharyo kahinawat daw.
When I heard about Charter for Compassion and the Golden Rule Day, I had to introduce you to this painting. This painting was painted by M. Southard, who is a CSJ out of, I believe, Ohio. And I purchased this at the Christine Center in Willard. And so many things about the Golden Rule is within this, for this is a list of Baha'i, Buddhism, Sikhism, Zoroastrianism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Jainism, all of the Golden Rule. And in the center, the artist writes, "And who does not want to be treated with love?" And that's my gift to this day for the Golden Rule.
This is a song I wrote about my grandfather, who was a huge influence on my life. So somewhat fitting.
Gorgeous.
I'll just adjust.
Yeah, sure.
When I was born, my grandfather held me in his warm hands, and it seems though his eyes are teary, but it's hard to tell from the old photograph. While my brother and sister danced at the feet of his tired and weathered frame, he said, "There's a light to this boy I've rarely seen," and there he gave me my name. Well, my grandfather was a sniper in the Red Army. He never knew any brothers in arms, for on both sides stood enemies. With a cold, unbroken will to survive, his steady hand took aim, and he drank just enough to keep himself warm, for he never spoke his true name. When I was a boy, the summers were ours. He would take me down to the sea. He'd stand on the water's edge and watch me go crazy as the gentle waves rolled in. Looking back, I wonder how he must have felt, watching me running so free. All the years in his life he wished he could forget, did he look at the world through me? When I was a man, I flew across the ocean when I heard he needed care. I listened as he spoke of his turbulent life from his ordinary chair. And he ended by saying, "Oh, I've had enough. The time's come for me to go. I have only one wish that is left in me, to be taken peacefully." Just before I was due to marry, I heard he could not walk anymore. It was then he gave up fighting. I had said goodbye almost 1 year before. And I'll never forget something he told me. Yes, it's a cruel world, but you must live without fear. Well, I sure do miss my grandfather. He's the reason why I'm here.
Love nurtures a generosity of spirit, but the temptation to be mean-spirited is sometimes irresistible, especially when we're feeling outraged. Love calls on us to forgive, even though revenge often seems more natural. So this idea that we're at our best, our most human, when we are motivated by compassion, is hardly new or revolutionary, is it? The true mission of the world's great religions has always been to nurture our capacity for love, to encourage commitment to a life of compassion and service to others, and every non-religious, spiritual or mystical tradition and most secular philosophy points to the same idea, often expressed as the golden rule, that we should treat other people as we would like to be treated, and also expressed in that famous remark made by Mahatma Gandhi, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. This is why the deepest wisdom on the subject of knowing yourself always stresses our interdependence and our interconnectedness. Our sense of self is only really brought to life, given its richest meaning, when it's expressed in social interactions, like that magical thing that happens when a single voice is blended with a choir. Now, I've used this term common humanity, which sounds wonderful, rolls easily off the tongue, but what is the essence of our common humanity? Well, as I've said, we belong to a social species, and because we belong to a social species, because we rely on groups and communities and herds to sustain us, therefore, the essential quality of human nature is that one thing we need to promote the social harmony that's so vital to our survival. And that quality is our capacity to love, to show kindness, compassion, respect towards everyone we meet, simply because, being human, they are part of who we are. Now, I've said our capacity to love. I've used that magic word, love. It's a heavily freighted word, isn't it? We use it in so many contexts. I love chocolate. I love dogs. I love movies. I love books. I love my partner. I love my children. All forms of love enrich our lives. But when it comes to the essence of human nature and the greatest contribution we can make to a healthy, well-functioning society, compassion is the one to focus on. We typically think of love as an emotion, but in the case of compassionate love, it's more accurate to think of it as a discipline. As I interpret it, compassion is not about emotion or affection. It's not something you feel. It's something you do. It's something you give. It's a commitment to a way of being in the world in which kindness becomes our default response to everyone we encounter, not just those in obvious need of our help, not just people who are clearly distressed, and certainly not just those we happen to like or happen to agree with, but everyone, particularly including those we don't much like or don't agree with. That's the acid test of how civilized we are, that we've unlocked our capacity for compassion towards everyone we encounter.
Hello, I'm Philip Wallen. Now, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, actually predates the New Testament of Jesus. It goes back to the Babylonian Jew, Hillel, in 70 BCE, and even further, beyond the Analects of Confucius in 500 BCE, and before the dawning of Jainism and Hinduism. Indeed, it predates the dawning of writing in Mesopotamia 6,000 years ago. So following the golden rule by definition means we must be vegan. Not because veganism describes our nationality, our politics, our religion, our diet, or our lifestyle, but because it defines our character. It says we oppose violence wherever it occurs. Now, in human history, only 100 billion human beings ever lived. 7 billion are alive today. and we torture and kill 2 billion sentient, living, loving animals every week, and stab and suffocate 1 billion ocean animals every 8 hours. If humans were wiped out at the same rate, we would disappear in 1 weekend. Trillions of fish are ground up into pellets to feed to livestock. Vegetarian cows are now the world's largest ocean predators. The oceans are dying in our time. By 2048, all our fisheries will be dead, the lungs and the arteries of the earth. 10,000 entire species are wiped out every year because of the actions of one species, and we now face the 6th mass extinction in cosmological history. If any other organism did this, a biologist would call it a virus. It is a crime of unimaginable proportions. Now, Victor Hugo said there is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. But I say there is nothing more destructive than a bad idea whose time has passed. The time for meat has passed. And this is not just about animal rights, it's also about human wrongs. Animal rights today is now the greatest social justice issue since the abolition of slavery. It is a revolutionary event more powerful than the Industrial Revolution, the Reformation, or anything ever conceived by Darwin, Einstein, Copernicus, Galileo, or Freud. Because it protects the most precious of all things, life. The Golden Rule is on the right side of history, and it is creating the new Enlightenment, the Second Renaissance. Thank you.
Gyandeep. Compassion, caring and kindness. At Gyandeep, we are touching hearts, growing together and making a difference. Gyandeep has always tried to be a beacon of hope for children in terms of its belief that knowledge is the path to progress, and spreading this light from one to another is the way to do it. Knowledge is the one thing that does not diminish on sharing. In fact, it only increases when one spreads it. We learn when we teach. Gyandeep has now evolved to set its aim even higher at holistic education, which transforms children into good citizens. Apart from academics, this concept of education includes developing awareness, self-confidence, values and principles, and good behavior. This naturally comes about only when there is a genuine and deep concern for the children. All volunteers at Gyandeep have been wonderfully successful mothers to their own children. In fact, many of them have joined this initiative as they deeply felt that they can be, in a sense, foster mothers to these children. We call them upcycled moms. They are never made to feel that they are recipients of charity, rather that the parents and Gyandeep are partners in the education of children, and each has a distinct role to play. This effort is not to teach with the threat of punishment, but rather to inculcate the desire to learn. A variety of methods are used, including activities like quizzes, stories, events, excursions, and competition. Each child has some exceptional talent and resource, and it is this that Gyandeep tries to uncover and allow to flourish. Gyandeep volunteers are very conscious that the parents have shown enormous trust by handing over their children to them, even if it is for just a few hours a day. This makes them very humble and thankful. It gives them a feeling that they have been blessed to be given this chance to make a difference. It is also not just a truism that the giver gains more than the receiver.
And we are an example of that.
எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். என்னோட பேர் சுஜிதா. என்னோட ஆர்கனைசேஷன் நேம் மில்லியன் டாட்ஸ். மில்லியன் டாட்ஸ் வந்து சென்னையில் இருக்குது. இந்த ஆர்கனைசேஷன் மூலிமா தமிழ்நாடுல உள்ள ரூரல் அண்ட் அர்பன் இந்த ஸ்கூல்ஸில் வந்து ஸ்கூல் குழந்தைங்களுக்கு வந்து பீஸ், கம்பேஷன், நான் வயலன்ஸ் இந்த 3 கான்செப்டையும் குழந்தைங்களுக்கு புரிகிற மாதிரி ஈஸியாக சொல்லி கொடுக்குறோம். நாட் ஜஸ்ட் தட் நாங்கள் ஃபினான்ஷியல் அசிஸ்டன்ஸும் பண்ணுறோம். லைக் எஜுகேஷன் ஃபீஸ் பே பண்ணுறது, அப்புறம் சர்ஜரிஸ்க்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுறது, மெடிசன்ஸ்க்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுறது, ஜஸ்ட் ஃபார் த சில்ட்ரன். ஓகே, ஸோ தீஸ் ஆர் த திங்ஸ் விச் யூ. பட் எங்களோட மெயின் ஃபோக்கஸ் வந்து பீஸ், கம்பேஷன் அண்ட் நான் வயலன்ஸ். இந்த கான்செப்ட் வந்து ரொம்ப யங் ஏஜ்லேயே அவங்களுக்கு சொல்லிக் கொடுக்கறது தான். இப்போ கோல்டன் ரூல் அப்படின்னு எடுத்துக்கிட்டா நிறைய கோல்டன் ரூல்ஸ் இருக்குது. அண்ட் there are a lot of unexpected things, beautiful things which has happened. நம்ம குழந்தைங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு நல்லதை சொல்லி கொடுக்கும்போது அதை அவங்க வந்து எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்ணுறதே வந்து ரொம்ப நல்லாயிருக்கும். நாங்கள் நிறையா அவங்க கிட்டேருந்து கற்றுக்கிட்டோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். தட் இஸ் ஒன் திங். அண்ட் ஒன் திங் விச் ஐ வாண்ட் டு ஹைலைட் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தோன்னா, இந்த குழந்தைங்களுக்கு வந்து கேச்சிங் தெம் அட் அ வெரி யங் ஏஜ். அப்போ நான் கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கேன், ஆஸ் யூ சோ ஷால் யூ ரீப் அப்படின்ற கோட் வந்து which is like நான் எப்போவுமே அதை ஞாபகத்தில் வச்சுருப்பேன். ஸோ whenever I do something I make sure that I sow the seeds of goodness அந்த மாதிரி. ஸோ நாங்கள் when I started my career off in this social sector, development sector போது, so when I started working at the year like 2011-12 இந்த மாதிரி நான் ஒர்க் பண்ண ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது I met few kids. அவங்க அப்போ வந்து கேஜி, லைக் எல்கேஜி, யூகேஜி அந்த மாதிரி இயர்ஸ், லைக் வெரி யங்காக இருந்தாங்க. நாங்கள் இந்த கான்செப்ட் சொல்லி கொடுத்தவங்களாம் பார்த்தா now they are like almost like 10-year-old, 11-year-old இந்த மாதிரி இருக்காங்க. ஸோ இப்போ பார்த்தா they are such a good human being, அவங்க நிறைய விஷயம் அதுக்கப்புறம் கற்றுட்ருக்காங்க. இட்ஸ் நாட் ஜஸ்ட் they did not stop over that day. They just cultivated the habit of being compassionate, being empathetic. ஸோ இது எல்லாமே அவங்க வந்து அதுக்கு மேலே கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ட் ஆகிட்டே போயிட்டு இருந்திருக்கு. Okay, so it's not that we have set the foundation. Above that they themselves have built it அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். So it's like நாங்கள் if at all we are telling them that you are responsible for the helpless people. If somebody comes and asks you for help, you should help them out without expecting anything in return. அப்படின்றத வந்து குழந்தைங்களுக்கு புரிகிற மாதிரி ஒரு லாங்குவேஜில் அவங்க வந்து அதை கஷ்டமாக இல்லாமல் ஒரு எஃபர்ட்லெஸ்ஸாக அவங்களால இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ண முடிஞ்சதுன்னா it just gets into them, they take it very seriously. So just tell them that it's their responsibility to do something good to the society and take care of the helpless people. Here in the helplessங்கும்போது இந்த குழந்தைங்கள்லாம் not just இந்த poor people மட்டும் அவங்க வந்து ஒரு சீரியஸாக எடுத்துக்கல. அவங்க பக்கத்தில் இருக்கவங்க ஹெல்ப் கேட்டால் கூட wholeheartedly they are doing it. So that's one golden rule which is very close to my heart. It's just that giving responsibility and sowing the seeds at a very younger age has a profound impact. So that's what. Thank you so much, Charter for Compassion, for this wonderful opportunity. Bye-bye.
मुझे मौके चाहिए.
मुझे ज़हनी सुकून चाहिए.
मुझे हिफाजत चाहिए.
मुझे माली इस्तेहकाम चाहिए. हर मजहब, तहजीब और तरीके की बुनियाद हमदर्दी है. हमदर्दी का मतलब है कि इंसान के साथ ऐसे पेश आओ जैसे तुम चाहते हो वो तुम्हारे साथ पेश आए.
मुझे हिफाजत चाहिए आपके लिए.
मुझे माली इस्तेहकाम चाहिए आपके लिए.
मुझे ज़हनी सुकून चाहिए आपके लिए.
मुझे मौके चाहिए आपके लिए.
रहमदिली, एक लफ्ज, सबकी आवाज.
Do you often look into the eyes of your dear ones? Do you even know what color they are? Is it a mixture of blue and gray or green and brown? There is so much you can see and feel when you look into their eyes. Time, can you please stop? You cannot make it stop, but you can make every moment count, wherever you are and with whatever you have. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. So make every moment count. Together. There is so much you can see and feel when you look into their eyes.
What does the Golden Rule mean to you in your context?
I've been thinking a lot about how the Golden Rule interacts with privilege. By privilege, I mean the set of experiences I have or that I don't have because I'm a man, or I'm white, or able-bodied, or straight, or I grew up Christian. Here's the thing. There are a lot of people who aren't treated the way I am by society, whether I want to be treated with that preferential treatment or not. That it's unfair to others, some of the ways that I'm given the benefit of the doubt in ways that they are not. And it's important for me to acknowledge that and to struggle for a world where everyone is treated with the level of dignity that I am.
I'm coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina, which has a very specific historical background, especially in modern history. So for me, it would mean that people would be able to focus on the joint benefits of working together and living together rather than on divisions and troubled past.
From a South African context, we live in one of the most unequal societies in the world, whether it be economically or socially. Our society is incredibly divided, and I think the obvious offering of the Golden Rule is to bridge those divides and for people to step into a space of action and really addressing the injustice and the inequality that exists.
In my context, the Golden Rule means that everyone has a valid story. I have to listen and learn first to eliminate passing judgment of any kind. It's all about this reciprocity that starts with loving yourself and understand that there are no others, that we're all one.
I find that sort of an inversion of the Golden Rule comes up for me when I hear my inner critic speaking louder than usual, and I use that as an opportunity to ask myself, would you want to talk to your children the way that you're talking to yourself? And I would not. I find that if I'm speaking kindly to myself, then I am speaking more kindly to my loved ones. And if I'm speaking more kindly to my loved ones, hopefully they are speaking kindly to themselves. And if they're speaking kindly to themselves, then they might be more inclined to speak kindly to the people that they love. So it's sort of a perpetual Golden Rule cycle.
Relationships are not easy. My mom and dad, they both have their own baggage of stories and emotions, joys and problems. Sometimes I think that they pay too much attention to their problems and emotions. Often when I look at them, I see them as dance partners. Let me explain. My mom, after a long day, wants my dad simply to listen to her, to hug her, lift her up, Sometimes her emotions are too heavy for my dad to handle. My mom gets upset, but dad always does the best to help her. She might think it's useless, but my dad always lifts her spirit. He gives her all the space she needs. Sometimes she's scared, she feels lost, and even when her wings get broken, Dad always helps her to fly again. Sometimes she's taken on too much, and then she wants to run away. But my dad always knows how to calm her and help her to feel safe. I love when they inspire each other, when they dance together. It's not easy to see, to hear, and to feel each other. You need to practice. And then the moves become contemporary. I love my mom and dad. They're always trying to do the best together.
When we divide, we cannot coexist harmoniously. We lose contact with children. Conflicts and interfaith disagreements arise in our society. We see a tremendous decline in family values. The younger generation is negatively affected. Divine love unites. Applied spiritual technology leads to the divine love that unites. Harmonious communities are created. Education is targeted at the development of good qualities. We solve conflicts in a positive, peaceful way. Bridges between religious groups are built. Family institution is restored. Universal spiritual values are revived. Heal the divide with the divine.
Em 2021, o Golden Rule Day traz-nos a inspiração de sabermos tratar os outros como queremos ser tratados. E sem dúvida alguma que neste tempo tão exigente, a grande lição para todos nós é a bondade. Que todos possamos ter mais bondade e compaixão para com o sofrimento e para com a presença do outro também. Então que este dia possa ecoar no coração de todos, com compaixão, com bondade e com paz. Muito obrigado.
In order to have a friend, you have to be a friend, right? If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Oh, we find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know where I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah.
Hello, I'm Elsa. I'm a palliative care doctor from Portugal. The Golden Rule brings us closer, and that's why we are starting the project Compassionate Portugal. We wish to be close to those who suffer in order to eliminate or diminish that suffering. In life's challenge, when illness advances and death approaches, compassionate presence makes all the difference. Never do to others what we don't like to ourselves, and do what is good for them and makes sense in all states of life. Compassionate communities at the end of life, we are connected. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Caroline Uchima and I'm talking to you from Scotland. Just behind me you can see our peace pole henge, and today I'm going to invite you into the henge to have a little walk around. So henge means circle, and there are many henges around the world, sacred henges, perhaps the most famous of all being Stonehenge. Our Neolithic ancestors 5,000 years ago performed many sacred rituals in these henges, connecting with the universal source, connecting with their own divine self. And this is the modern version of the henge, the peace pole henge. So in our peace pole henge we have the 193 countries represented in the United Nations, and when we walk clockwise round the henge we see the message "May peace prevail on earth" repeated over and over again on the peace pole for each country. When we walk anti-clockwise we can see the message "May peace prevail on earth" in all the scripts and languages of each country. We have held ceremonies in the peace pole henge every year since its creation, and would have been holding our annual flag ceremony on Midsummer's Day this year. I like to think that the energy from this peace pole henge is contributing to creating a future of peace for humanity. The power of thoughts, words and actions spreading around the world and linking with all the peacemakers to visualise and actualise peaceful, vibrant well-being of all life on the planet. So at the heart of our peace pole henge is our central peace pole. May peace be in our homes and communities. And this is Uma. He's the Allenton peace pole maker, and while Uma's making the peace pole he likes to play beautiful music to accompany the peace pole as it makes its way out into its mission in the world.
Die goldene Regel besteht darin, zufällige freundliche Handlungen durchzuführen. Es sind die kleinen Dinge im Leben, die am wichtigsten sind. Halten Sie eine Tür für die Person offen, die hinter Ihnen steht. Lächeln Sie den Menschen zu. Kaufen Sie jemandem ein Geschenk und vergessen Sie nicht, Ihre Mutter oder andere Person anzurufen, die Ihnen lieb ist. Eine gute Tat berührt die Seele eines anderen Menschen. Jeder hat Probleme. Dein einfacher Akt der Freundlichkeit lindert den Schmerz eines anderen. Wenn du einen einfachen Akt der Güte machst und jemand anderen berührst, hast du die höchste Ebene deines spirituellen Selbst erreicht.
Only now have I found how to love everything our earth gives me. And it is now that matters most of all for the great eons to be. We have the choice on every day to right our past mistakes and to love the earth for all our lives and for the whole world's sake. Only now have I found how to love everything our earth gives me, and it is now that matters most of all in the great eons to be. When we dare to own a love so vast, we will win life's greatest quest. Tune in to every part of her till our whole dear earth is blessed. To love nature in all her ways, tree, sea, mountain, bird, sky, is to own the very heart of life and hear our own souls cry. Only now have I found how to love everything our earth gives me, and it is now that matters most of all for the great eons to be.
We are all the same in all the ways that matter. It doesn't matter what we look like, how old we are, what language we speak, or who we love. It doesn't matter if we have fur or feathers or fins, the length of our nose or the number of legs. We're not different in any important way. We all have thoughts and feelings. We all feel love and pain and loneliness and joy. We can all understand, but we are not always understanding. We experience ourselves as separate from the rest, but none of us deserves to be treated with less respect. Our task must be to break free from prejudice and to see ourselves in everyone else.
What opportunity does the Golden Rule offer the world right now? Oof.
I think the Golden Rule offers the world the opportunity to consider our shared humanity as opposed to focusing on all the ways that we are different from each other.
I think that the Golden Rule is the stepping stone to find common ground, and if used daily, change the way we think and act. It allows us to increase compassion and empathy for ourselves and for everybody else.
I think the Golden Rule is a really good ethic to build more solidarity and grow movements.
In any context used, the Golden Rule is always looking for equality and equity. It's looking for peace, respect, and even a celebration of our history, of ourselves. It can be used between religions, in politics, in public policy, the environment, social justice issues like gender equity, anti-racism work, LGBTQ rights, economics and distribution of wealth, the treatment of indigenous communities. It truly can encompass anything that you can think of.
The Golden Rule and different formulations of the Golden Rule through different religious and spiritual expressions offer us a binding moment and an incredible force that we're able to use to do good, because our very personal expressions of spirituality and religion are asking of us to do good to others, just like we do good to ourselves.
And the Golden Rule can really help us show up for each other in truly supportive ways based on how people want to be treated by others and how we ourselves want to be treated.
If we look deeply and honestly at the conditions that make us feel safe and joyful, we might be more inclined to prioritize making those conditions available to everyone. Observing the Golden Rule gives the world an opportunity to address what we really consider fundamental human rights.
Mi nombre es Rosa Delia Quispe Maca, soy del Ecuador, pertenezco al Sesame Uri. Mujer, recuerda que eres única en el universo. No hay otra persona que sea igual o que te represente. Y eres la creación divina, y como tal tienes todo el derecho de ser amor, paz, serenidad, felicidad para compartir en el mundo. Recuerda, si das amor, te devuelven amor. Si es lo contrario, ya tú lo sabes. Las amo, mujeres. Adelante.
Mother says she is crying for her human children. She has lived for billions of years. She will live for more. It's a question about whether or not we human beings are going to live. I've been watching the world as it goes through its chaos and it's intensifying. I just got in touch with my heart. I got out of my mind and I wondered what is it that I should do? And it was like a download. Gather elders from around the world. And then in a separate boom, Kauai. This is called the birthplace of the soul.
The earth is our mother. The earth feeds us. The earth is our island as a whole people, entire humanity. We have one Earth, and I do have concerns about what we're doing to it, and we need to be more conscious of that.
The sacred sites of Mother Earth are pulsing with energy, and she's trying to communicate with us more than ever in this time of devastation to her and her vulnerability and expressing so visibly and potently her power. We must take care of her.
Climate change. What is it that makes us want to dispute it even exists? We deny it because we can't understand what to do. It's too big for us, so we put it aside somewhere where we don't have to listen to it.
It's been very important to meet with other Indigenous people, as well as others who are very concerned about the way things are in this world today.
Cuando sopla el aire, él sabe por qué sopla, de dónde viene y hacia dónde va. El ave canta y sabe por qué canta. La araña teje su tela. La abeja busca su miel. ¿Y el ser humano qué hace?
The human body, when our temperature rises, white blood cells come out and they attack whatever is causing that sickness. It could be a virus or bacteria. And now Mother Earth's temperature is rising. Who is the bacteria or virus? All over the world, people are growing hungry to know what it is that they should do. What are we doing? Why are we studying X, Y, and Z on the outside when we should be examining ourselves?
Менің көкірегіме 99-жылы хабар келіп айтылған. Осында айтқан, бұрылыс заман болады. Жан дүйнені атыш керек. Егер жан дүйнені тазарса, табиғатымызды сыйласақ, анда аруланабыз.
We have separated from our hearts. It was like a pendulum that swung back and forth between masculine imbalance and feminine imbalance. Man can only be reborn through the woman. And the elders say today the women are going to take the lead during this time. The men, we are to support the sacred space of women so that they can do their work.
This is the time of the feminine. This is the time of the woman. Women are stepping forward. We are not waiting for someone to give us permission.
Even if you do not speak, you will be heard.
I think that men can just treat women with respect and honor them for the place that they play in this world. Women are the keepers of life.
It's that sacred vessel we're carrying that is so amazingly fertile. That is what is giving birth to the new way.
The world will look towards indigenous people for answers. But the only answer is that you drop into your heart and you ask your heart what it is that you ought to be doing or not doing.
We're caught up in a maelstrom of news cycles, and if we can drop it and get down into those quiet spaces in our hearts, we'll know the way forward.
En el silencio se puede verdaderamente escuchar lo que hay que hacer, que solo ahí se manifiesta el gran espíritu, que es el presente constante.
Things start to naturally come into balance. Then these false scarcities and these false threats and all these things that seem to be the end of the world and, they're our enemy and this is bad if we don't have this, and it's all that's just a narrative. You take that out and you replace it with the original narrative, which is we've been given everything we need. We just need to operate from the heart and from the na'au so that we can live in a balanced way and take care of everybody. It seems simplistic, but it's actually the only solution to harmony in the world.
Quisiéramos poder hablar en todas las lenguas, pero solo hay un idioma, que es el sentir del corazón. Nuestros corazones sienten y saben lo que deben de hacer.
Every one of us has everything we need to love. And love means not judging, but seeing behind the veil this incredible being as we're created. It's so incredible, I don't even have words for it, but I see it.
People ask, how do we do that? And there's a simple answer to that. Ask your heart. Don't ask me. Only your heart knows how you can be love. Each person and each human being is totally different, and they'll reflect this love and be this love in a different form.
I think it's really important for us to put our minds together, our hearts and our spirits, and recognize that we all have a hand in determining the steps that we must take in order to bring balance back.
Live your traditional wisdom, spirituality. Remember who you are. We need you. The earth needs you now.
Dүйнө жан дүйнөң бир болуп, келечекте адамзат үчүн чоң кызмат кыл деп айтар элем да.
Find your passion and follow it.
When you have your passion, it forces you to show up here, now.
I will meet you there. And we're going to heal the earth. We're going to heal our people. We're going to heal ourselves and everything around us.
We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones. Each and every one of you have a sacred mission given to you by the Spirit that lives in all things. If you touch and get your instructions from your heart. If we focus on what we dream this world to be, that will become the reality.
Hi there, I'm Deborah Levine, one of the Federation's Her Story Award winners. My journey has been an amazing one dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have created community organizations like the Women's Council on Diversity that embed the golden rule in all that we do, to be kind to each other, and in the Hebrew, tikkun olam, repair the world with that kindness. I have done this through the American Diversity Report also, giving people, diverse people, a voice. There are almost 1,000 articles by people all over the world. They talk about their diversity, about inclusion. They talk about everything from their community, right, to sharing their poetry with us to give us a window into who they are. And that's what I'm all about. Let us experience each other and be kind, and that will help repair the world. I hope that this is something that will inspire you. That is one of my goals. I teach at universities. I teach young people. It's a pleasure as well as a responsibility. And that's what the Golden Rule is all about. Let us go forward with it together. Thank you.
Olá, sou Graça Nascimento, coordenadora do Círculo de Cooperação MIR-RJ da URI. Desde 2002, nós integramos a rede URI, né, compartilhando o sagrado e servindo ao mundo. Nosso propósito fundamental hoje, frente a esse momento contemporâneo, é ter como propósito e consciência de que somos humanidade e devemos nos pautar no respeito e dignidade de cada ser. Na nossa visão, cada círculo de cooperação é um ponto luminoso que reflete e irradia luz, amor, solidariedade e felicidade. Nesse caminho de serviço, de amor a todos os seres que habitam nossa casa comum, a Mãe Terra. Vamos em frente. Um abraço.
Life is to be lived without reservation, experienced with curious daring, and relished with unbridled courage. The world is a wild and beautiful place made better with compassion. In this world are compassion warriors. I am a compassion warrior, the walking wounded, whose heart has been broken, battered, and bruised. I am the wounded healer who, through the grace of compassion, heals again and again and again. I am the heart and soul of compassion who reaches out to you not as a healer, but as a soul sister warrior. I am compassion's presence. I am you, you are me. Together, we are compassion. A compassion that is possible only through love. I love you enough, the battle cry of a compassion warrior. I love you enough, sitting in the silence, holding your hand, listening to you weep. I love you enough, hearing beneath your words, feeling your anger, witnessing your frustration. I love you enough, reverberating with your angst, wrestling with my want to repair, recognizing your strength. I love you enough, being compassion's presence, promising not to flee, not to fix, celebrating your wisdom. I love you enough. I am compassion's warrior. Compassion asks us to be sacred warriors who conquer the world not through violence or aggression, but through gentleness, courage, and self-understanding. We need that now more than ever. Thank you.
The Golden Rule connects all of us, and here in Las Vegas, we are all about it. Las Vegas is known for electric entertainment, romantic weddings, and world-class resorts. Millions of people visit our city each year from all over the world for entertainment. But it's the Vegas hospitality, our compassion in action, that keeps them coming back. The dazzling lights of the Strip literally makes Vegas the brightest of all cities in the world. Yet it's the light of compassion that makes us Vegas strong. As Karen Armstrong has made so clear, the Golden Rule, compassion, is not an option. It's the key to our survival. And Las Vegas shines in the best and worst of times because we are marching towards compassion. The Golden Rule is our DNA. Whether it is the Jameson Fellowship, which fosters collaboration amongst the various social sectors to influence unity and enhance leadership skills that construct impactful change, or Compassionate Las Vegas, the podcast, which shares stories of individuals and organizations who are making a difference in the world and addresses uncomfortable subjects. There's also the annual Compassionate Las Vegas grant, which awards $10,000 to a community initiative that places compassion and collaboration at the center of its work. The Golden Rule is the spirit of our people. Like Willie, a 62-year-old man currently experiencing homelessness who spends his days in front of the Marriage Bureau, helping visitors find parking and making sure they know how to pay for it. It's the hundreds of people who donated much-needed resources in the days following the 1 October shooting. It's the Resiliency Center, Volunteers in Medicine, 3 Square, the Cupcake Girls, and others. It's each and every person, seen and unseen, who makes the Vegas experience the world knows and loves possible. Here in Las Vegas, we are all about connection. And yes, it's the Golden Rule that connects all of us.
Hello, I'm Kehkasha Basu, a United Nations human rights champion and founder-president of Green Hope Foundation, a global social innovation enterprise working across 25 countries with over 140,000 young people, and especially working with our world's most marginalized communities so as to leave no one behind. Treating others as you would treat yourself, the Golden Rule, resonates deeply with all the work that we do at Green Hope Foundation, especially as we try to implement the Sustainable Development Goals mandate of ensuring a life of dignity for all. Whether we are working with the children in the Syrian refugee camps, Rohingya refugee camps, with the homes for children of prisoners in Nepal and Kenya, or with the children who die every single day from drinking contaminated water in the villages of Bangladesh, we work to ensure that they have the same rights and respect that every human being deserves, therefore treating them as we would treat ourselves.
Hi, my name is Samuel Egger. I live in San Antonio, Texas. This week we were hit with a crazy winter storm. If you can see in the corner of my video, there's still some snow right there. And for the Golden Rule, I wanted to use the winter storm as my example. Past few days, a lot of people have been displaced. I live in an apartment, but it had no electricity or water, so I had to find a new place. I'm at my parents' house right now, and not only me, but the rest of my family, so my sister and then a whole another family, our family friends that didn't have power, we took them in as well. So it was 2 families living in our house for the past 3 days. And when I think of the Golden Rule, you know, all of us being united together, I think that with this winter storm, while it has created some division, people have been trapped in their homes or just limited outside contact, I think in a lot of ways it has also brought our communities together. While our government may not be helping with a lot of change right now, locally there's been a ton of attempts at help. People are creating heating stations, they're giving out food, giving out water, and as a community we've gotten through one of the worst winter storms in decades, who knows, maybe in centuries. So I think that in a time that has created a lot of peril, a lot of fear, we have used the Golden Rule to kind of unite as one and get through this winter storm together. So I've gotten closer to some family friends that I definitely wouldn't have without the winter storm happening. And I think everyone just uniting and making change together is what got us through it.
Wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal, after learning my flight had been delayed 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing. "Help," said the flight agent. "Talk to her. What is her problem? We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this." I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly. "Shu dawa, shu bidik habibti, stanna shway, min fadlik, shu bitsawi." The minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "No, we're fine. You'll get there, just late. Who is picking you up? Let's call him." We called her son. I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons, just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamoul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts, from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo. We were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There's no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered with powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend, by now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country, traveling tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones and thought, this is the world I want to live in. The shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost.
Hello. Hi everyone, we are the Nkosi family. I'm Gwande.
I'm Khile.
I'm Tini. And today we're going to be telling you about how we think the world should be treated the same way that we want to be treated.
In a little song.
I think the world deserves respect.
And I think the world deserves some kindness. A little love is all we need.
I think the world deserves respect.
And I think the world deserves some kindness. A little love is all we need.
One of the most important things we have learned is that you should always be helpful. Always lend a hand to somebody in need.
And let your internal beauty shine.
And you must always respect people because you'd want to be respected too. And once we can respect people and love each other, this world will already have an immediate cause in being a better place. Also, take care of the planet Earth because we also want to stop pollution, stop climate change. And if we can just respect the Earth and love it, we can make this place a better place.
Bye!
Bye!
Welcome. I'm just so delighted to be here with you and to talk about one song, The Spirit Bear, and this fable called A Journey to Your Heart. So one song is very special. He is a spirit bear, and the fable that I'm going to read to you is about one song and his friends. And one song has a staff, just like any magical being would have, right? And the really cool thing about one song's staff is that it's also a talking stick. After I've read some of the fable, and then I'm going to pass the stick to the left, the talking stick. So Sam, it'll come to you first. And I'll ask you a question about your feelings based on the fable that I'm going to read. And then when you're done talking about your feelings, if you'd like, you can write your feelings right on one song. One song comes in this beautiful package that has the fable and has the markers and has one song with his staff. And I am going to read this version of A Journey to Your Heart, which is the story of Journey to Your Heart. It's a fable from the series Under the Old Apple Tree by Jiggy. And so, who's that?
A bear.
It's a bear, and does it look like one song? Yeah. A Journey to Your Heart. Somewhere, not far from here, there is a place we can all go. It is a journey to your heart. And there is a wonderful white spirit bear named One Song who will take your hand and help you find your way. One Song had learned that self-worth does not come from the way you look. It comes from the way you act. But actually happy. Were you feeling happy?
Yeah.
Okay, should we put happy on One Song? Should we write it right here? Okay, we'll put happy. Page.
Feels haven. Happy.
Okay.
Compassion, I would say.
Perfect.
Happy. Fortunate.
Perfect.
Fortunate.
I was feeling grateful. Good. One Song has our feelings right on him.
Hi, I am Kirtania from South Africa, and I'll be reading an excerpt for you from the book, The 4 Sacred Secrets. We live in a world that is interconnected. Our actions matter. Every time you engage in action, you're actually helping the world stay in harmony, and you become invaluable to the sustainability and harmony of this beautiful earth. When we awaken to the state of interconnectedness, our efficiency has a way of skyrocketing. We enjoy great success both on a personal level and in terms of our contribution to the success of every member of our organization and the world. If we do not care for what the other feels and how we treat them, we may brush shoulders with them and work together, but we fundamentally feel alone and stuck in our stressful states. And it is only when we feel connected to another that we experience feelings of safety, security, and nurturing. If you're feeling a loss of purpose, there's a huge chance that it is a loss of connection. And by awakening to a state of heartfelt connection, you will inevitably awaken to a greater sense of purpose. You will realize what it means to truly cooperate. It is not an attitude or an activity you do together, but it is a state of consciousness where you see your well-being as inseparable from the well-being of others. And there is then a natural urge to enhance the joy and well-being of others around you. We are at a pivotal point in human history where we can either take our collective evolution to the next level or lead ourselves and other forms of life into destruction and extinction. The power now lies in each of us.
The Buddhist principle of dependent origination teaches that ultimately all life is interconnected, and that the real nature of human beings can only be correctly understood in the context of their connection with others. So the sufferings of others are also our own. This is just one reason why it's so important to treat others as we would like to be treated. At the most fundamental level of life itself, there is no separation between ourselves and the environment. Everything around us, including work and family relationships, is perceived through the self and alters according to the individual's inner state of life. Thus, if we work to improve ourselves, our circumstances are more likely to change for the better. Psychological research is finding that people whose primary focus in life is the attainment of extrinsic goals, external such as wealth, property, fame, and status, tend to be less happy and experience higher levels of anxiety, more illness, and have less of a sense of fulfillment. Whereas those who have also built treasures of the heart developed into happier individuals with the ability to sustain both self-respect and respect for others. Buddhism explains that the way we treat others results in the accumulation of positive or negative karma in our own lives. This is actually a hope-filled life perspective. Rather than depending on our environment for our happiness, we can focus on something we can improve, ourselves. By embodying the spirit of the Golden Rule and doing what Daisaku Ikeda, the president of the SGI, a worldwide lay Buddhist organization, calls a human revolution, I believe each of us can, in our own unique way, have a profound impact at our job, school, community, and the world. So change ourselves, change the world.
We're excited to be celebrating what is arguably the greatest idea humanity has ever had.
I wish that you would help with the creation, launch, and propagation of a charter for compassion.
Inner cities are in turmoil, people are looking for a solution, and compassion is the solution.
Cross-learning between compassionate cities like San Antonio, Monterey and Las Vegas has been a key to delivering remarkable results. One initiative from a group of godmothers in Compassionate City, Monterey, is rebuilding lives, one roof at a time.
Behind those images, there is a very compassionate heart.
If you're always in survival mode, we offer a place of safety and a place of respite where people can come, be safe, decompress, and then start moving towards their next steps.
Across town, a volunteer-driven medical clinic heals the uninsured, while a food bank feeds the hungry.
I used to be part of that vulnerable population that we serve. I went without health care. I was homeless for a long time. Compassion heals. Compassion empowers. Compassion changes lives.
The city has also struck an innovative partnership between police and pastors to reduce violent crime.
After a violent event, say a homicide or a shooting, we will call our faith-based partners. They will come out and respond as a kind of a conduit to us to really preach no retaliation, provide aid and comfort to the family.
Through the spread of Compassionate Cities initiatives, innovation blossoms and people flourish.
So it's a powerful way to unleash 5 things: inspiration, initiative, integration, innovation and impact.
Invertir en la compasión en este momento de la historia es invertir en la sanación del planeta.
The Charter for Compassion has a new wish for the next 10 years: to shine a light on compassionate cities whose measurable results inspire others around the world. You can help. Invest in compassion and cross-learning between communities.
If we aren't
as individuals, as organizations, as cities, as communities, investing in that for our future generations, we are so missing the mark. This is the best stuff that's happening on the planet.
People tell me I'm crazy for dreaming big. I dream bigger. I can accomplish anything I put my mind to. When people tell me their aspirations, I admire them because that's the golden rule.
When people tell me that I can't do it, I don't let them stop me. My experiences do not define who I am. Whatever I go through, I treat everyone with respect. That's the golden rule.
When people tell me that my disorder will distract me from achieving my goals, I work harder to accomplish them. My ADHD will not prevent my success. No matter what disorder someone has, I treat them with kindness because that's the golden rule.
When people tell me I'm quiet, I tell them my quietness isn't a weakness. No matter how quiet someone else is, I always treat them with compassion. That's the golden rule.
When people tell me that I am too young, I don't let that get in my way. My age does not determine my abilities. Regardless of someone's age, I treat them with dignity because that's the golden rule.
The golden rule is that I will treat others the way I want to be treated.
We are Anytown.
We are the golden rule.
I'm Sarah Jamil, and I'm with the Women and Girls sector.
I'm Donna Mills, and I'm with the Women and Girls sector. I've lived with this golden rule for 55 years on this planet, and I'm struggling to see it embodied in people, in systems, in cultures. And we talk about it, but we're not embodying it. We talk about it like it's this star hanging out into the sky that we go, oh, golden rule. But exactly how are we embodying this and applying it to our everyday, And I had to think, I asked myself that question. I'm like, why are we not applying the golden rule when we know it's nature, it's essence, it's invitation? And the answer for me is we don't know how to treat ourselves golden. So if we don't know how to if we're here to treat others as we treat ourselves, we don't treat ourselves golden. We don't treat ourselves wise. And we don't have a system that teaches us that. We have a system that tells us to be all we can be, but then also is denigrating. It's why would we know how to love ourselves? Because the system is confusing right now. It tells us one thing and does the other thing. I want to, in Women and Girls specifically, remind people that we are golden and offer an invitation for them to come and learn who they really are. Who are you? So when you know who you are, the golden rule is as the breath I breathe.
The perspective I bring in is from my faith tradition as well, because that is part of who I am, because I've chosen to dig deeper into it and learn about it. I've studied it enough to know what does that really mean to treat others the way I'd like to be treated. And I too went through that process like Donna is, how do I want to be treated? How do I treat myself? So it starts with me. How can I even start saying the golden rule to others? How can I start preaching it? I can only preach it when I can be it. So that's the encouragement and invitation I bring to the women and girls sector. Any conversation that we have, and in my home, it starts with me being that model. Am I modeling the golden rule all day and every day? The way Karen Armstrong encourages us to, right? The whole charter, why was that created? The sectors are only there to support the greater work of the charter and the vision and mission, right? So the golden rule, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. It's so empty when you don't really understand what that really means. It's about honesty. It's about justice, equity. Are you doing that in your own life, in your family, in your home, in your neighborhood, in your specific city? Let's not forget about pointing like this way, right? It's personal responsibility for me. Happy Golden Rule Day.
What would the world look like if we remembered to live by the golden rule?
For me, it is an abundance of joy.
There are these structures, economic, political, social, other, in place that almost don't rely on whether people treat each other well. We'd see a world of a lot more solidarity between ordinary people, pushing back against those structures. I think we'd see those with privilege be more effective allies to those more affected by those structures, and we might even see people who are part of those very structures act in ways that help transform them from the inside.
People have enough in terms of a home, enough food, enough shelter, enough care, enough compassion.
There will be less judgment and more listening, I think.
There's just a joy in the way that people are reacting to each other and engaging with each other.
We will be able to develop deeper connections with people beyond our in-group, whether that's your group of friends, your state, your country, your religion. We would not see those limits anymore.
I think we'd live in a more creative world as well. There would just be an abundance of sharing and love.
There will be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons or threats to peace.
The world would be a wonderful place where we think of others' needs at the same time, at least, when we think of our own.
We would see more authenticity. We would be able to communicate our true intentions, which develops into not lying or fooling others, which then triggers the elimination of abuse. That alone would allow us to live so much happier and honestly probably evolve into some sort of new human race.
I recently read a book by Robert Wright called Why Buddhism is True, and he outlines the myriad of ways that meditation and mindfulness is beneficial on a personal level. He makes a really extraordinary claim. He says, I think the salvation of the world can be secured via the cultivation of calm, clear minds and the wisdom they allow. World salvation through mindfulness.
What would we be capable of if collectively our brains didn't have to spend energy or space in keeping up with facades or lies? We would stop being abusers.
Some of the frequently referenced versions of the Golden Rule, like treat others as you would want to be treated, fail to address the fact that not everybody wants or needs to be treated the same way. Avoid hurting the hearts of others. The poison of your pain will return to you. This version of the Golden Rule ties into what Robert Wright is saying. If the whole world really committed to doing no harm, imagine the paradigm shift that would be. Imagine the way our energy would rise. It's pretty incredible to think about.
My name is Trace Hobson, and I live in British Columbia, Canada.
I'm Teresa Cowan-Jones. I live in Tucson, Arizona.
Namrata, and I'm in India.
When I hear you talk about the Golden Rule and doing unto others as you would have them do to you, and caring about other people as you'd like them to care about you, the first thing that goes through my mind is that's actually not enough. For me, what I really want to take that to is actually looking for in the world the people that don't look at things like me at all. You know, in Christian texts, Jesus talked about loving your enemies. I don't really want to use that word specifically, but what I will say is that there are a lot of people that look at things completely differently than I do, and that actually trigger me in different ways and make me feel like afraid or concerned or all of those different things. Well, I think that the world serves very powerfully if I can find it within myself to actually care about that person and to create a space for that person and to actually love them the way that I would like to be cared about and loved in the world, regardless of the fact that they are very different than me. And I think that if we could do that as a species, we'd be way better off. So for me, the Golden Rule is about loving other people as I would like them to love me. It's maybe even loving them like they would like to be loved. And obviously, you know, that's a big part of it. But it's also really being with those areas where I have my own prejudices and my own shortcomings or inabilities to see, and loving the people that trigger that inside of me. And doing that work inside of me as well, because then I can create a space that they can step into and feel compassion and love. You know, for me, that's a healing space.
If the world could commit to this one principle of life, do unto others, treat others as we would like to be treated, or as we imagine other people would like to be treated, maybe the platinum rule. We'd have a transformed world, more peaceful world, more reflective world, because the principle first invite us to consider, how do we want to be treated? I like that it considers in and of itself, and it invites an inner journey, an inner consideration. What is it that I need? And for those of us who've had to suppress the self and our needs and our desires, our very identities, I think that part of the principle, to consider what it is, how I would like to be treated, even that is a radical invitation for a lot of people, for us to at least know how would we like to be treated, and to consider that there is a self inside already that deserves love and care. It can be a revolutionary principle, and a principle that helps us come into ourselves and love ourselves so we can love others.
When I think about the golden rule, the things that stand out to me are this idea of the separate self. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And it just emphasizes that we are two separate entities. And if I were to look at where we are going now, I would find myself giving higher kind of a significance and allegiance to that space in between, that I am very capable of creating intentionally in any interaction. So for me, it's really about, for every kind of an interaction that I step into, that I find myself a part of, or I initiate with a purpose, how can I make that space conducive towards achieving a higher purpose, and step out of myself as an individual and support the other person to do the same. I am a big proponent of Charles Eisenstein's work, and I love these 4 lines about, it really represents to me what golden rule to me stands for. Every act a ceremony, every word a prayer, every walk a pilgrimage, and every place a shrine. If I'm able to live like that, then I know I'm living in the golden rule and I'm embodying it. And I'm not really stating it as a principle or as, something we need to be doing.
In the Christian tradition that I grew up in, there was this idea of the Good Samaritan, which was a story about what do you do when you come upon someone who's suffering? And when asked that, Jesus says, you take care of the people who are suffering if they're your neighbors. The value of this parable is that question, who's my neighbor? Who am I required to, or who do I feel comfortable extending my compassion? Being a preacher's kid and an animal lover, I took that on as a 6-year-old, and I would come home from school and pick up all the dead critters I saw on the way home, take them home and bury them. And when I went into seminary, I wanted to expand my focus. How do we help suffering species? Humans make up 0.01% of the life on planet Earth. Yet we've caused 83% of the loss of all wild mammals since the dawn of civilization, and about 43% of that for animal agriculture. That's the state of what we're in today. Studies have shown that using mindfulness, meditation, prayer, all sorts of different spiritual practices can open us up to being able to see some of these facts a little better. They can help us open our hearts. They can help us perhaps make different decisions in our behavior, and they can help us widen who we think is a neighbor.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Wilhoit, and I want to offer you a chance to do something outside on your break. So this activity is a beauty-making activity. That is, making something that is aesthetically pleasing to you. It doesn't have to meet any standards of other people or me. just make something pretty outside. So here are some ideas. First of all, I would like you to go outside to do this. So a yard, a tree, a garden, a plant that might be on your porch. Go to that area and see what you might find on the ground. What might have fallen on the ground? What might you gather? Maybe there's some pebbles where you are, or some twigs, or some fallen leaves, or some wildflowers, depending on which hemisphere you're in and what season you're experiencing, you may see different things on the ground. And then I want you to try one of these three activities. One idea would be to make a cairn, which is simply a stack. Often it's a stack of rocks, 2 or 3 or 15 rocks stacked up. You may have seen them around. But you could also make a cairn out of other kinds of things, twigs that are crisscrossed on top of one another. You might make a cairn of leaves or pine cones. I have done so with all of those items and more. So get creative and clever and have fun with this. The other idea I might offer you is to make a bouquet. And this could be a bouquet of flowers or grasses or things that have dried and fallen off of trees. It doesn't literally have to be a bouquet, a floral bouquet. And to gather some items and just arrange them in some way that looks nice to you. It doesn't have to be a bouquet that can be held in your hand. It could be a flat bouquet. It could be a few items gathered that just look nice together, that you take inside someplace or leave outside on your deck or your porch or the grass. A third idea is to make a ground wreath. And again, you can gather any kinds of items that you see around. I do ask you to be respectful if you're using natural items that you're finding. So yanking big branches off trees is not really the idea here. Keep it simple and pleasant for yourself. But a ground wreath is just simply that. It's a round structure that lies flat on the ground. If you have grass, that's fine, or a wooden deck, or a beach like you see behind me. Wouldn't that be nice for those of us that don't have that? And just arrange your items that you found in a way that's pretty to you on the ground. You may even want to photograph the thing that you create to remind yourself of a few moments in nature, making something beautiful with the gifts that are just already there. So I hope you enjoy this.
Hi, I'm Charlie Barker. I'm president of Compassionate DFW in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area here in the United States. I'm sometimes asked about the Golden Rule and the Platinum Rule, and the question usually goes, what's the difference between those two? I would say that first and foremost, the Golden Rule has been around for over 2,000 years. The Platinum Rule has only been drafted and put out over the last 20 to 22 years. The Golden Rule basically says treat others as you wish to be treated, or in the negative, don't treat others as you don't want to be treated. The Platinum Rule is different in that it states treat others as they wish to be treated, or don't treat others as they wish not to be treated. The difference is the focus. The focus on the Golden Rule is on you and your relationship with the person. And the Platinum Rule focuses on the other person in relationship to you. The Platinum Rule is good in the sense that it requires a relationship. For example, if I like a particular kind of watch and I want to give this other person a gift, it would be, for me, the golden rule would say, buy them the watch because this is something that you would like. The platinum rule says, no, you really need to take into consideration what that other person would like. So it requires a relationship, requires both rules. I consider the platinum rule really an expansion of the golden rule, and both require relationships to be developed. So that's the difference. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I wish you a wonderful Golden Rule Day. Thank you.
Hi, this is Kate Trinka. I'm the Environment Sector Lead for the Charter for Compassion. Happy Golden Rule Day. I grew up in a Judeo-Christian family, and it was just something that you just treated people right because it was the right thing. It wasn't. And for me, the Golden Rule has shifted a little bit more into not do unto others as you would have done unto them, but to do unto others as they would like to be treated. Because now that we're so interconnected, we have that at our fingertips now. And when I was teaching, I learned very quickly that there are cultures that find it disrespectful, for example, to look someone in the eye, an adult, a child to an adult. So if I'm forcing that child to look at me in the eyes because that's what I want, it's being disrespectful to them. So how they wish to be treated, to me, feels more like the golden rule than me imposing what I want or what I think they want or how I think they want to be treated. So I shouldn't force my way of being on them. So, and I hope I do that for the most part. I would think of first and foremost is to have a relationship with the natural world. We're a part of it. You know, whether we ignore that or not is up to us. So I think like, let's just take clear cutting, for example. We're clear cutting a forest in our deepest, most being, when we're not thinking about how much money we're making. We know that that's not the appropriate thing to do, right? I mean, it's like we're literally knocking out our lungs. You know, we're knocking out the lungs of this planet. And so we're the only species that creates garbage. How do we fit into this world in a better way that we're not, creating more than we need to be? I think we go a little bit too far in a lot of ways. If I have a choice to buy something that's in a box and then in 3 layers of plastic inside there, and versus just one plastic bag that's frozen, taking our reusable grocery bags to the grocery store. So all those kinds of things. One of the things that when I was talking about, developing a relationship with nature so that you have that understanding of what's needed. We always think that we only have 5 senses that we've learned, and we actually have 54. And that's one of the things I learned in my eco-psychology studies. I was like, 54, and you're just like, wow. And when we talk about those other ones that are our top 5, it's like, oh yeah, the sense of temperature, or the sense of humidity, or the sense of time, a sense of balance, all these different senses that we just sort of like take for granted. Once we become aware of all those senses, that helps us bring in nature in all angles. And then it's hard not to see the awesomeness of how this universe has been orchestrated, and then there's some kind of a more of a respect or a reverence for it, and then it's more difficult then to mistreat it or to take advantage of it because you see how that might affect balance. So I think that's important.
Hola. Mi nombre es Janina Ariestoya, pertenezco al CC Yacuyura de la provincia de Córdoba, República Argentina. Nuestro trabajo en estos momentos es recolectar semillas y a plantar árboles autóctonos para lograr una reforestación por los incendios que estuvieron pasando el año pasado. En la comunidad todos nos tratamos igual y bueno, siempre tenemos en cuenta las reglas de oro de Uri. Les mando un abrazo grande y bueno, saludos a todos.
Hello everyone, my name is Lisa Levinson and I'm the co-founder of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, and I'm here today to wish you a very happy Golden Rule Day. I love this day because to me it symbolizes extending our circle of compassion to include all living beings, and that means our animal neighbors. One of the ways I like to extend my compassion to animals is by going vegan. This practice of not eating animal products assists me in aligning my spiritual values with my daily choices. So for Golden Rule Day, give it a try. Go vegan and share the love between all living beings. Thank you, and may compassion encircle the earth for all beings everywhere. Happy Golden Rule Day!
Mi nombre es Salete Aquino, soy de Brasilia, Brasil, pertenezco al CC URI Brasilia y también soy miembro del Consejo Global de URI. Tratar a los demás como gustaríamos de tratar a nosotros mismos. Eso es el principio. Tratar los otros, los animales, las plantas, la naturaleza, como parte de la casa común.
If you've ever been blessed to have a relationship with a companion animal like a dog or a cat, then you know that these animals have interests, that their interests are to them as important to them, really, as our interests are to us, that they're capable of suffering, and we would not want them to suffer. So this basic sense of kindness and respect for other animals is really, I think, a foundation of our spirituality. And I would like to propose that we extend this to the other animals of this world as well. This is Dr. Will Tuttle, author of The World Peace Diet, and I'm a vegan now for 41 years. And I think that really underlying the problems that we're having in our human world is the failure that we have to live the golden rule. The golden rule, to do unto others what we would like to have done to ourselves, and not to do to others what we would not want to have done to ourselves, can be applied not only to human animals, but also to non-human animals. And when we think of the cows and the pigs, the chickens, turkeys, ducks, and geese, and fishes, and all the animals of this earth, especially those that we are using for food and other products and exploiting and harming, how much better our world would be, not only for ourselves, but obviously for them as well. That we can all thrive, actually, on a plant-based way of eating, and that we have all been given this wonderful gift of a human vehicle that does not require us to harm other animals in order to thrive and celebrate our lives on this beautiful earth. So please join me this year in celebrating the Golden Rule and extending it to include all living beings, and give them our love and respect. Thanks so much for caring.
This is the title cut of our album. It's our song of hope.
Yes, it is.
And if we keep spreading love and compassion, something wonderful will happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this song is. Something wonderful.
2, 3, 4.
seem to know exactly what lies ahead. Check my reserves and they're running all time low. I guess it's time to let go and know that something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful is about to happen. Something wonderful to me. Change escapes me and it feels so disturbing. And I'm slow invested everything I could. A sigh of relief, and then I hit that wall again. I could get the story, but I'm laughing instead. 'Cause something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful is about to happen. Something wonderful to me. Empty answers, forgotten signs. Another disaster feels like I'm running out of time. With blinders on, I keep on walking up my line, but they're on the sidelines with no reason to ride. Doesn't make sense most of the time when I dig down deep. The gem that I find is something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful is about to happen. Something wonderful to you. Something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful. Though it's hard to see below the surface, not knowing can kind of make you nervous. All the energy from your inner fire fuels the roots of your heart's desire. So go ahead, trust the love you planted, and your wish will always be granted. Now it's time to let yourself shine, 'cause something wonderful happens all the time. Something wonderful, something wonderful is about to happen. Something wonderful, don't you ever give up. Something wonderful, 'cause something wonderful, something wonderful is about to happen. Something wonderful to me and you now. Something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful, something wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Barbara Kaufman, and I've been around with the Charter for 10 years or more. I'm in Wisconsin. Appleton, Wisconsin was one of the first cities to join the Charter of Compassion. I've been an activist as long as I can remember. I believe the Charter is the antidote to violence in the world, and I would like to see compassion be the default position for every interaction that takes place on this planet. So, and the way to accomplish that is to keep in mind that we are all one big family, a human family, and that what we do should involve thinking about how it's going to impact others, and particularly how it's going to impact, shall we say, the zeitgeist or the field that is part of the whole world. Is how is what I do going to impact the world? Because we have that power. We each have that power to impact the world in so many ways that we don't even realize, including what we do on social media, what we do with our, teaching our children how children grow up, teaching them to be cognizant of other people and how what they do affects other people. So there's a lot. There's a lot about the Golden Rule that needs to be incorporated in all education as far as I'm concerned. Hi, I'm Barbara Kaufman from the arts sector at the Charter for Compassion, and I'd like to welcome you to Golden Rule Day.
I looked up Golden Rule as it applies to social justice, and I found Atticus Finch in Let's Kill a Mockingbird. So what Atticus says, you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around. So because To Kill a Mockingbird is such a quintessential novel that demonstrates the power of social justice and the power of compassion.
So for me, you mentioned that this concept turns up in all the world's religions. The one I happen to follow, it's the central organizing theme. That Jesus said the most important thing is to love God, and the second most important is to love your neighbor as yourself. And he went on to say that the entirety of the Jewish prophets and scholars and the law, like the whole thing, is summed up in those two bits of guidance. And I find that this business of loving your neighbor as yourself is really all tied up in treating them as you'd want to be treated, and even more, treating others as they want to be treated. And so this idea of compassion being a connecting means by which we might find out how it is others would like to be treated is a really powerful motivator for me personally, and is the expression of my faith.
The Golden Rule affects what I do in prison and what I'm looking for among the prison system. And there's very little kindness. There's very little of anybody looking to be kind to anybody. But the thing that I have found is there are amazing people that believe in the Golden Rule, that are working in every area of the legal system and the prison system. For instance, there's a woman that her book is Kids in Jail, and she worked for 15 years in the juvenile facilities with children from 6 years old up until 18. That's not easy to do. Applying the Golden Rule is very tricky and requires thought, and it also requires support of other people on the outside to help you understand how to do that.
I am generally challenged by my tendency to think of compassion as a positive thing all the time. And, one thing I've learned in part from our conversations with this group is thinking of compassion as the moment when you're kind of hearing and sitting with someone else's pain. Even if it may be impossible to empathize in that moment, just being there with that pain. And that's not quite the same as a positive experience, the way I would describe it, but an important part of compassion. And so for me, the Golden Rule, it starts with sitting with before moving to, how any of us would like to be treated, or moving there together. And the other experience I've had in our sector work is there are so many, as we mentioned, cultures and religions that have some variation of the Golden Rule. One of our conversations was with a leader, a voice from an indigenous community. And her comment was that way of framing that perspective did not resonate with her. The framing and the language of it can very much still come from a colonial place, a colonial mindset. Even if it has the right intention, it can still come from that mindset. I definitely carry that perspective with me as well.
Happy Golden
Rule Day.
justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up strong. Stand up strong. And stand up now. And stand up now. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up strong. Stand up strong. And stand up now. And stand up now. I'm tired of the ALM against the BLM. Tired of the attitude of us against them. Tired of the tensions between black and white. Tired of debating when we know wrong from right. Pro-vax, anti-vax, pro-choice, pro-life, pro-mask, anti-mask. There's so much strife. Democrat, Republican, atheist and Christian. The darkness against your light. I'm tired of the fallacy of white supremacy. Tired of the sickening police brutality. I hear the people crying out for more accountability. Lord, enough is enough now. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up strong. Stand up strong. And stand up now. And stand up now. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up strong. Stand up strong. And stand up now. And stand up now. Hey yo, what do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No racist police. All lives matter when black lives matter. Yes, all lives matter when black lives matter.
Elijah was walking to the store one night to get something for his younger brother. He had his ski mask on, probably was so hopeful for the next day.
Stop, I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
Relax, just relax. Relax, relax.
They dosed the 140-pound Elijah with ketamine, a powerful sedative. Elijah had a heart attack. He was rushed to the hospital and put on life support. Eventually, doctors declared him brain dead. 3 days later, he was taken off life support.
Let me tell them the truth now. Too many killed by the police yearly. Thank God forbid your fault so we can see clearly. Black people get it worse, yes, most severely. We pray for the day we can be treated fairly. When crooked cuckoo cop turn off the body camera, killing innocent people all across America, playing judge, jury, and executioner. They live above the law and get away with murder. We need justice against police brutality. It's time for the people to police the police. We need justice in our judicial system. Modern day slavery in our private prisons. We need justice for those on death row who are innocent. We need to save them now. We need justice for those on death row who are innocent. We need to save them now. We need justice against the Ku Klux Klan. It's time to stop domestic terrorism. We need justice for all the children caged up in our immigration system. We need justice for all the boys and girls who are being sex trafficked all over the world. We need justice for every family who suffer in the system of inequality. We need justice, yes, for each and every one. Together we are strong, come on, and stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up strong. Stand up strong. And stand up now. And stand up now. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up strong. Stand up strong. And stand up now. And stand up now. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up for justice. Stand up strong. Stand up strong. And stand up now. And stand up now. Stand up for justice.
united for a change in the United States of America and around the world. Wherever there is injustice, we need a change. What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? What do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
Thank you for letting us have a safe day on this protest. And please bless all the parents that brought all their children out here to learn that Black Lives Matter and that we have to fix this or else it'll just keep on going. And just thank you for everyone that came out here with tons of compassion and everything. And amen.
Amen. All right. Amen. Amen.
I'm Lisa Berkeley, and I am the lead for the peace sector of the Charter for Compassion. And I currently live in Marina, California. I love the Golden Rule, and I've recently heard about sort of an updated 2.0 version of the Golden Rule, which is treat others as they would like to be treated. And so I think that the Golden Rule is a great place to start because hopefully most humans want to be treated with care, love, respect, dignity, etc. And so that's kind of where I do come from. I value it very, very much. I also serve as a city council person for my home city. And it's a real interesting growth opportunity and challenge and positive opportunity too. It's a little bit redundant, but for the way that to try to bring in the Golden Rule into governance, because governance and politics are really quite unattractive sides of human beings that we see. And so trying to incorporate the Golden Rule is interesting, to say the least. But what I can say is, as it relates to the peace sector, it's really foundational to all of the work that we're doing within the peace sector. For example, when we have our monthly meetings, there's tremendous respect and giving people space to speak, to share their vision, and also sometimes there can be like miscommunications that occur sometimes or misunderstandings, especially when you're working cross-culturally. Maybe a word triggers somebody or it has a different understanding within that culture. And so we really take the time to unpack it, to understand it better, to understand where the differences are. And very often what we see is that when we unpack the misunderstanding, people are coming from more or less the same place, which is this care, compassion, dignity place. And so working with the Golden Rule sets the framework for how we communicate with one another.
For me, peace building is really about the need to highlight around the world the fact that people are doing peace every day. It's a part of their everyday practice, whether they are doing it in the form of social entrepreneurship or indigenous reforestation or culturally responsive place-based learning. That's all peace work. We can do peace work through the writing that we share, through our ability to publish or to vlog or to create podcasts that expand our understanding and our will and our moral courage. This is all peace work. So that means everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a way to contribute. And my goal is to really have everyone begin to think of themselves as peace-building leaders and to although it's wonderful when we have governments and governmental leaders who are benevolent and kind and compassionate and thoughtful and who put resources in good places. The frank truth of it is that today, in this day and age, given our capacity to communicate with one another, to leverage community resources, so much of the important peace-building work and leadership can happen at the grassroots level, and indeed should.
We have come to see that we are all interconnected. We are stronger together. We cannot remain silent. Hear our voices.
As a community leader,
I believe in building equitable communities.
As a community leader, I believe in building equitable communities
which center on compassion.
Communities which center on compassion.
Which center on compassion.
Where we care for each other and the environment.
Where we care for each other and for the environment.
This requires ending racism and dismantling structures of oppression.
This requires ending racism and dismantling structures of oppression.
This requires ending racism and dismantling structures of oppression.
This takes everyone working together.
This takes everyone working together.
This takes resilience.
And it takes resilience.
We care for each other by understanding that we're all created equal, that no one is any greater than anyone else.
This could be by volunteering to a nonprofit organization and, whatever skill set that you have that they can benefit from, share it with those who need it.
To show that you care for your neighbors, both nearby and far off.
It could be as simple as learning your neighbors' names, all of your neighbors, those that are unsheltered, familiar to you and unfamiliar. And once you open the door to that relationship, it leads you down the path to what we all know. We are all interconnected.
To stay informed, stay motivated, and active within their community.
Compassion is like clean water, and religious values are like different flavors of tea. Humanity can survive without a certain flavor of tea, but not without clean water.
Reducing the fear, increasing the love, increasing the compassion, and increasing the understanding and acceptance.
I think the most important thing is that we make time for each other.
Show love, show care, and show appreciation.
We care for each other by not shying away from our broken places, but by bringing them into the light.
Believing that there's enough. Whatever the need is, there's enough. In fact, more than enough for us all.
Everybody should be accepted for who they are, no matter what. It's what's in the inside that matters.
I'm committed to this work, and I invite you to join me.
I commit to this work and invite you to join me.
I commit to this work and invite you to join me.
I commit to this work and invite you to join me.
I commit to this work and invite you to join me.
I commit to this work and invite you to join me.
I commit to this work and I invite you to join me.
Yo los invito a todos, I invite you all, los invito a todos to join me. Únanse con nosotros en este esfuerzo. Sí podemos. Gracias.
I commit to this work, and I invite you to join me.
And don't forget to wear your mask.
No one is free while others are oppressed. We are all interconnected.
Be blessed and stay safe.
I'm Reverend Carol Saunders, and I'm an ordained unity and interfaith minister. I'm here to celebrate with you the Golden Rule Day. It's such a great thing to celebrate, and we know it's about treating others how we want to be treated. It's kind of simple, but it's not always easy, because we often forget to ask the question, Who are the others? I invite us today to expand our circle of compassion beyond the people in our lives and include everyone, all people, the planet, and also our animal brothers and sisters. Animals are so much like us. They're brought into life by the Creator with their own purpose, not our purpose. Like us, they feel, they think, they have family, and they have a deep desire for freedom. They want to move, and they want to be with who they want to be with. Humanity, though, has lost its way, and we systematically capture and confine and harm billions of these blessed creatures every year, when most of us, almost all of us, have alternatives to what we eat and what we wear, and also what kind of entertainment we choose. The idea that they're here for us, for our purpose, that's just an inherited idea. That's not something that we were born with. We got that from our parents and from our culture. And as long as we cling to that idea, we will only partially live the golden rule. None of us want to be confined or exploited or have our lives cut short. So today, on this Golden Rule Day, let's expand our circle of compassion to include everyone, all people, the planet, and also our animal brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for listening. Namaste, and have a happy Golden Rule Day.
Compassion, I believe, is innate. We are wired to connect. We actually have something in our brains called mirror neurons. So that helps us connect. So in other words, when I smile at you, you usually smile back. And even if you don't want to, there are certain muscles in your face that are going to respond to mine. And conversely, if I give you a mean or angry look, you're going to respond similarly. I actually learned that love is connection by talking with young kids. And I love talking with young kids because they just have a wisdom about them, and they're honest. They're not programmed yet. So I was talking to an auditorium filled with elementary school students, and I asked them, what does anger feel like in your body? And their response was something like this: blah, oh, headache, inferno, fire, pain, right? That was anger. And then I said, well, what does love look like? And immediately, without even thinking, they turned to one another and they hugged. Or if they were sitting across desks at another time, they would try to touch like that. And it is from them that I learned that love is connection. So we're born wired to connect. And then through experiences in our life and our environment, and even really well-meaning experiences, we are programmed to disconnect. We feel pain. We have less of an understanding of one another. We feel disconnected. And that leads to anger. And anger is really the opposite of compassion. And because we learn disconnection and anger, we can also learn love and connection.
Greetings from the Charter Education Institute faculty, where we bring you a variety of courses to do with all things with compassion. For me, the golden rule is a very powerful yet simple maxim, and it translates across genders, cultures, age, and ideologies. What's not to love about it?
I like this expression of the golden rule, a quote from Kofi Annan. Our universal values oblige us to show the same respect and sensitivity for people of other communities that we would expect to receive ourselves.
Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, and may this love eradicate judgment, greed, ignorance, and fear.
For me, the golden rule is a vital emphasis on empathy and the reciprocity of morality.
All spiritual and religious paths award the golden rule a respected place in their foundational principles. However, can't we do better? Not everyone wants to be treated the same. A higher standard, or what is called the platinum rule, requires us to bear witness to each other and treat each other based on that knowing.
Happy Golden
Rule, everyone.
Happy Golden Rule Day.
That's definitely a wrap.
And we also teach poetry translation in the schools, honoring the incredible linguistic and cultural diversity of our school and encouraging future readers. And this has a lot to do with compassion, I think. You've probably heard about the studies of empathy that concluded that literary fiction improves a reader's capacity to understand what others are thinking and feeling. And of course, that effect only increases in importance when the others that the reader is empathizing with are on the other side of the world, speak another language, perhaps practice another religion. So reading fiction is like a training course in understanding others. One psychologist calls it the mind's flight simulator. So I'm not a social scientist and I can't vouch for the veracity of those studies, but we've seen the powerful impact of the written word also in our education program, Poetry Inside Out, that in fact relies on cultural and linguistic differences in the classroom, and thus celebrates diversity and cross-cultural literacy.
Two things I've always wanted to do: play jazz piano. I do that really, really, really badly, and speak Italian, and I do that really, really badly. But this is a poem called "I Am Not Italian." I am not Italian, technically speaking, yet here I am leaning on a zinc bar in Perugia on a sunny weekday morning, my foot up on the worn iron railing, just like the other men who, it must be said, are officially and fully Italian. It's 8:40 and they're off to work, some in offices, others sweeping the streets, while I am off to a museum or a church to see paintings, maybe light a candle in an alcove. Yet here we all are in our suits and work shirts, joined in the brotherhood of espresso, or how is it said, la fratellanza dell'espresso, draining our little white cups with an artful rotation of the wrist, each of us tasting the same sweetness of life, if you take a little sugar, and the bitterness of its brevity, whether you choose to take sugar or not. And I'd like to dedicate this poem particularly to my dear friend and your dear mother, Cynthia Sears. And this is called the Symphony Orchestra of San Miguel de Allende. The Symphony Orchestra of San Miguel de Allende is not made up of the usual instruments. Instead of brass, strings, and woodwinds, there are church bells, roosters, doves, and barking dogs, all of which predate the horn, the violin, and the oboe, notably the rooster, who crowed even before the time of Christ. The orchestra plays all day and into the night, but the music is most alive in the early morning, when much of the audience is half asleep and not distracted by their jobs and errands as they will be later in the day. At first, as I listened from my canopied bed, it sounded like a jumble of noise, until I imagined a gigantic score written centuries ago by the Mozart of Mexico, the genius who decided those dogs should come in just after the 32 gongs of a solemn bell, who had the doves modulate into an adagio, and who added a rest here and there where the roosters should pause, but not for long. Are we not seekers of order, I thought, as when we follow the lines in our palms or connect the dots of the stars to form a bear in the sky? So before rising from our slumberous beds, why not listen a little longer to this composition for dogs, roosters, doves, and bells? The dogs are barking to be fed. The roosters are beckoning us to the hen house where 3 eggs are still warm in the straw. But the doves are mourning our awful losses, and the bells are here to remind us of God.
Both women and men are actually wired. We know this from neuroscience, and it's all there in Nurturing Our Humanity in the book. We actually, the pleasure centers in our brains light up more when we share and care than when we win. Become what you already are, an agent for transformation from domination to partnerism.
I live in the city of Pune. What I love about Pune is that it's a city that has heart, it's got music and theater and everything, and it makes it a very wholesome and complete city.
Rotterdam is the second city of the Netherlands. It's all about buildings and building.
Las Vegas is actually an extraordinary place to live. What most people don't appreciate is that behind those images, there is a very compassionate heart.
Sacramento is the capital of California. They have really promoting artists right now, and so a lot of new murals are going up, which is really making the energy of the city a lot more dynamic.
About 40% of the population of Pune city lives in slums. The second thing I would say is the issue of education, making education even better than what it is today. The challenges of any big growing city is what Pune is also facing.
We have a very poor educational outcome in terms of students graduating.
Literacy levels that are very high in some areas, very low in others. So ensuring that our education system is reaching everyone.
25% of children grow up in poverty in Rotterdam. In my opinion, that's a huge amount.
So Las Vegas has its dark side, as any city does, and among those areas is our children. So 1 out of 10 of our teenagers attempt suicide.
Well, I think one of the top issues is homelessness in the city. The poor, poverty, is an issue that exists in a major city like Dallas.
Homelessness and poverty, and I know that's true for so many cities, but poverty is huge. 1 in 4 or 5 children are hungry and in poverty, living in poverty, and it's just not acceptable.
Inequality is growing in Australia. That is an issue. Environmental issues are big ones as well.
In Australia, every 5 days a woman is killed, generally by their partner. And interestingly, every day 6 people kill themselves, 5 of them are men.
Everything the world needs is there. You have the technology, you've got the people, you've got the money, you have volunteers, you have everything, and yet the world is not working. And I think the missing piece, the missing glue is compassion.
You can draw a line from Sandy Hook to Columbine to a number of different mass shootings here in America. And you can also ask the question, why? And the answer seems to be low emotional intelligence. And so compassion is really the curriculum for increasing emotional intelligence.
If humanity wants to save the world, I think the only path to reach that is the path of compassion. I'm so convinced about that.
We live in a time right now that's not very kind, but I think there's a lot of kind people out there, and we need to support and celebrate goodness and kindness. So we're just kind of changing the focus.
But it has to come from here, it has to come from you. It's personal responsibility, and you will feel uncomfortable, but that's okay. That is really okay. Feel uncomfortable.
I mean, really, I guess really what I want to say is the reason that we're compassionate is because our own healing is contingent on what we offer to other people.
And so what I think we need to develop is a transformation of a mindset from self-centeredness to one of other-centeredness, and begin to see others as I see myself.
It creates a ripple effect. You start with yourselves, your city, you advance to your state, your country, and before you know it, you've touched someone around the world.
I think it's imperative that we all join this movement and learn from each other and support each other and work towards a more wholesome world.
One thing that people can do to center the golden rule in their lives on a personal level is to acknowledge and see the people that are around us. I think we live in these kind of siloed worlds, and particularly now with the coronavirus and living in isolation. So to see each other really as who we are is the first thing.
I think a lot of us are taught not to really think about and not articulate what our needs are and how we want to be treated. And to trust ourselves, right? And to stand our ground. This is what I need. This is how I want to be treated. I think it's so important to really have a strong sense of how you want to be treated before you can apply the golden rule at all. To treat yourself how you want to be treated. I think this could also help in realizing that if your own needs are specific to you, then that's going to be true for others. So you really have to listen and appreciate how other people articulate the ways that they want to be treated.
I think something that people can do is to support organizations and to find causes that they are passionate about, but particularly organizations that are working to address social injustices. We need to be standing together and drawing on all stakeholders in society to be addressing the inequalities that we see, and actively putting your time and energy and resources into these organizations is what's going to help us see the golden rule become a reality.
So what we can do to center golden rule in our own lives is explore the benefits that our community and the global world has from thinking about others when we think of ourselves as well, and trying to find inspiration in our own traditions.
I have in my room a poster with different versions of the golden rule, and that's one of the first things I see when I wake up. So I think having somewhere physical in your room or your home, or even on your phone or your computer, something that brings awareness to the golden rule in your head, your thought process will soon shift. The golden rule truly is just a stepping stone to finding and achieving more empathy and compassion towards all.
I really like this quote from Karen Armstrong. She says, "Look into your own heart, discover what it is that gives you pain, and then refuse under any circumstance whatsoever to inflict that pain on anyone else."
We've just started a recovery from what we consider one of the most traumatic experiences, that was the COVID-19 pandemic. If it made us realize anything, it was this. The golden rule was getting us to a new normal. Our ability to finally admit that physical isolation, that deep pain and trauma, that uncovering injustice and oppression has meant we have been going down a path for mutually assured destruction. And we have an invitation for everyone that's watching this right now. Let's strive for a world that is mutually assuring abundance instead. This is a time for us to see that the golden rule is not just about uplifting others, it means we are uplifting ourselves too. Now is the time more than ever before to reach across difference, to learn about others, to strive for their well-being as much as our own, and make sure that we can make this world a better place. Thank you so much, and make sure that this day of international expression of golden rule is a part of everyone's practice every day from now on.
Amigo, baja tu mano, tú ahora te acompaña por siempre. Si hoy buscas salidas, todo sana. Si lo hablas y sientes, dime cuál es tu momento. El silencio te ayuda a encontrarte y la libertad despierta fuerte en ti. El momento no es después, somos uno en esta vida, una conciencia y un amor rige el mundo que nos guía. Escucha la voz y se da cuando se vive en paz. Se ve, mucho hace falta, cuesta poco crear un mundo mejor. Correr puede engañarte, ven y respira, atento puedes pensar. Y la libertad despierta fuerte en ti. El momento no es después, somos uno en esta vida, una conciencia y un amor rige el mundo que nos guía. Escucha la voz y se da cuando se vive en paz. Muchas mentes, sociedades, patrias y culturas vivas, pero solo una conciencia y esta humanidad que vive unida en paz. Somos uno en esta vida en paz. Una conciencia y un amor rige el mundo que nos guía. Escucha la voz y se da cuando se vive en paz. Cuando se vive en paz. Cuando se vive en paz. Cuando se vive en paz.